On behalf of everybody in college football, where do you keep getting all of these quarterbacks?
Well, we've just been fortunate. I mean, we got good guys that really believe in our players and our system, and they're just very unselfish. So the old saying about if you care about others more than you do yourself, good things will happen to you. I think that's really held true with our QB situation and our football team, quite honestly.
We had talked about Jarrett Stidham. He came out of the game last night injured. What is his status right now?
He's pretty banged up. I talked to him a little earlier this morning. They're going to do an MRI on his ankle, but boy, he played really valiantly. We came out hot out of the gates last night, had a bunch of plays and yards in the first half. Really didn't have as many points as we needed, but he played extremely well. And then, Chris, of course, came in the second half and was just outstanding. And both those guys are just, they're such good teammates, and they just care about the team. So it was, it's very rewarding as a coach and as a person involved to see good things happen, good people.
Coach, can you give us the background story on Chris Johnson? I mean, we're sitting there thinking if Stidham goes down, Baylor's going to be in a bad way, but then Johnson comes out there, throws a pretty deep ball, really starts to separate you guys from Oklahoma State. What is his backstory?
Chris has been with us almost 3 years. He was a midterm guy. They came in here out of high school to Bryan, Texas, really good quarterback in high school. And it's just continued to progress. He's just very intelligent. As I mentioned, he's a great team player, very unselfish. And so he's always stayed in a get-ready mode. I'm ready to go whenever I'm needed. And, when Stidham came in, the things kind of just worked out to where we could move Chris to receiver for a while because, he's such a good athlete. We felt like we had to find a spot for him somewhere. And then the deal happened with Seth. And then we had Stidham, we got Chris. And we've always had a tremendous amount of confidence in Chris, and I was just glad that he got to showcase his talents last night.
Unbeaten Oklahoma State taking on one-loss Baylor, a big battle in the Big 12. First play from scrimmage, Baylor comes out firing. Jarrett Stidham to Corey Coleman, 48-yard gain. 2 plays later, Shocklin Wood straight up the gut, and less than a minute into the game, it's 7-0. Just moments later, Baylor strikes again. Touchdown. Stidham to KD Cannon. And about 3 minutes into the game, it's 14-0 Bears. Oklahoma, though, settle down, ease their way back into this game. How about this for a grab? James Washington hauls it in. One more look at it as we're tied at 14. Third quarter now, Baylor back in front. 24-14. Chris Johnson now in at quarterback. And that's a reception from Jay Lee. Baylor up 31-14. Later in the third, same score. How many quarterbacks does Baylor have? Chris Johnson to KD Cannon, 71-yard touchdown. Baylor on the road, 45-35.
The Baylor Bears delivered a message in Stillwater on Saturday night. We're still here in the Big 12 race and possibly the college football playoff race. Baylor displayed its offensive depth in a victory against Oklahoma State. Jarrett Stidham, their backup quarterback, who's been filling in for Seth Russell, started the game. He left with injury. Chris Johnson comes in and makes plays. KD Cannon at wide receiver, his biggest performance of the season. We've talked so much about Corey Coleman as a Heisman candidate, but KD Cannon, an incredibly impressive performance against that Oklahoma State secondary. Now, where does Baylor stand at this point? They will need help from Oklahoma State next week to beat Oklahoma in the Bedlam game. But if that happens and Baylor wins against TCU on Black Friday and then the following week against Texas, they would be the Big 12 champion. Now, would that get them into the college football playoff with one loss? I still think it's a tough call because of the lack of non-conference scheduling and certainly the loss they have. Even though it's a good loss, it's a home loss. But Baylor should not be counted out, especially in the Big 12 race with the offensive firepower that they displayed at T. Boone Pickens Stadium. A very important bounce-back performance for Art Briles and his team.
Let's take a look at the 4 finalists for our Capital One Cup Impact Performance of the Week, starting with Baylor's Chris Johnson, filling in for Jarrett Stidham.
Stepped right in, and you didn't even notice that Stidham was out of the game, just continued to make plays.
Threw for 2 scores, ran for another. Samaje Perine for Oklahoma. They ran the ball so well against TCU.
And they did, and this is the important part of this Oklahoma offense is on the ground. They keep it on the ground. They're hard to beat.
188 yards for him. How about a UConn Husky? Noel Thomas led Connecticut in its upset against Houston. 7 balls for 108 yards and 2 scores. That was a big upset. Houston may be looking ahead a little bit towards that Navy game. And Michael Geiger, the kicker for Michigan State.
I don't want to talk about it.
41, yeah. I love the honesty. 41-yarder to knock off the defending champ. So once again, the nominees, Johnson, Perine, Thomas, Geiger. You can log on to ESPN.com/Capital One Cup to vote for this week's Impact Performance.
Today on Wake Up College Football, we'll be joined by musical guest Journey, who will introduce their brand new SEC East theme song, Please Stop Believing.
And we reveal Ezekiel Elliott's holiday wish list. It just says the ball. It's time to wake up, college football! Welcome to week 12 of Wake Up College Football. We're talking the awesome, unexpected, and meaningful of the week. That gentleman's name is Ryan Nanni. My name is Dan. It should have probably said it somewhere in there. So let's just start at the top.
Okay.
Michigan State. Woo!
Yeah, that's accurate.
It was a Ric Flair moment for them, taking down Ohio State on the road.
In that it was sort of old and rickety, and you didn't know if it was going to work out at the end or somebody was going to die unexpectedly.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely
I agree with that
correct. Michigan State, with their backup quarterback,
Yep.
Connor Cook, a late scratch with his shoulder injury, goes to Columbus. They completely shut down Ohio State's offense of 5-star wonder talent, and with their backup quarterback, Tyler O'Connor, do enough, just barely, to come out with a win. There was something like 2 touchdown underdogs, and that was without knowing Connor Cook's status. They run the ball enough. O'Connor was athletic looking. He was efficient when he needed to be. He didn't complete a ton of passes, but they survived a really awful special teams blunder that gave Ohio State a touchdown. They held Ohio State to one actual touchdown drive, and now have wins over Ohio State, Michigan, and Oregon. It's a good night.
They do not have wins over Nebraska, for what it's worth. Just
An
throwing
all-time
that out there.
program, an
Sure,
all-time
one of
program.
The all-time blue bloods of college football.
Yes, but this was shocking.
It was just because once you heard Connor Cook wasn't playing, I mean, he's the heart and soul of the Michigan State offense. How can they win without him? And how can they possibly win with this defense that, while it's still been pretty good this season, has not been the level of Spartan just dominance that we've seen
especially
in years
against
past.
the past.
So just so impressive what they were able to do against Ohio State.
What was your awesome thing of the week?
So Baylor comes back from a pretty tough loss last week to Oklahoma, which I think most people sort of said, well, that's it for Baylor. They don't have the schedule to play for the playoff. And you would have kind of understood if they had just packed it in from that point.
First time they've ever lost at that new home stadium.
Yes. They went on the road to Stillwater, tough place to play, and they looked very comfortable beating a previously undefeated Oklahoma State team, especially on defense. They racked up 6 sacks. They only have, I think, 10 in Big 12 play before this, coming into the game. Had to go to the third-string quarterback at one point, but still was able to move the ball. It's, considering Baylor is very much on the outside looking in from what their overall goals were, still very impressive that they were able to, if nothing else, make the season a little bit less pleasant for one of their conference mates.
Yeah, and it speaks to the depth that they've built up, that they can keep that offense going with even an injured Jarrett Stidham. Running the ball as well as they did. They finished with a beat-up TCU and just generally beat-up program in Texas.
And Katie Cannon finally had a really good coming-out game for them, which was nice to see. He's been kind of quiet this year.
All right, let's move to the unexpected. And Ole Miss, even though they had the success they did, what?
Well, unexpected Ole Miss could mean anything every week.
That is true.
So,
what did I do?
Right.
An unexpected Ole Miss in that we are now looking at an Ole Miss season in which they've lost to a pretty good AAC team in Memphis at this point, and they've beaten LSU now and Alabama. So it's a toss-up situation with which Ole Miss are you getting, and they're still a game away, if they win in the Egg Bowl and Alabama loses in the Iron Bowl, from getting to the SEC championship game. They beat LSU in a dominant fashion in their sort of pseudo-rivalry game. I know LSU doesn't like to talk about it like that, but the fact that Chad Kelly on the ground and through the air spread the ball around like he did, Leonard Fournette really never got into a comfortable space of going for 200 yards or something like that. They managed to hold him down, hold Brandon Harris relatively down in an inefficient way. Ole Miss is a really good team that is prone to stumbling, but still bouncing back nicely.
Yeah, the other thing that's probably not unexpected at this point, LSU is not a team that can come back from a bad start to a game.
Right.
Like, they made this game closer by the end.
Yes.
But they can't, like, if they have a bad first quarter, you can kind of just count them out at this point. This particular LSU team.
This is true.
If Les Miles is actually coaching for his job, which I don't think that's necessarily true.
Right.
He's not doing a great job of it.
Not at all. No, LSU doesn't have that, like, all right, let's go into a tempo mode
Yeah.
where we can, like, march down the field and nope,
Right.
they don't have that. That's
Nope.
not what their offense is. To you, what were you not expecting?
So, Les Miles is one of the coaching greats, one of the elder statesmen. Let's talk about the young class, maybe a guy who could be coaching at LSU one day.
Somewhere, yeah.
Obviously, I'm talking about Bob Diaco at UConn. Hans Houston, their first loss of the season.
Yeah.
In a very impressive defensive performance by Notre Dame's former defensive coordinator
Yes.
with the Huskies. They're bowl eligible now. And at the beginning of the season, I don't think that would have been put on your list of, these are things I feel pretty confident about. It's a testament to how interesting the American has been this season because, we start out, we say, okay, Memphis is the team to beat. And then we say, oh, maybe it's Houston. Oh,
Right.
maybe it's Navy.
Maybe it's Temple. Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
it's Temple. Yeah. And now USF is looking great all of a sudden.
Yep.
UConn is up and beating Houston at home. I mean, it's been an interesting ride in America's former power conference, I think is the nicest way to put it. But still a lot of good football being played there.
Absolutely, and we'll move to the meaningful now, and let's go out west, specifically the Pac-12 South. The LA schools were considered to be a step above with their talent and their coaching at the start of the season. Well, one of those schools no longer has their head coach, and one of those schools is counting on a true freshman. So both of these schools take their lumps. More recently, USC gets completely thumped against Oregon in Eugene.
Yeah, I'm sure you feel terrible about that.
I feel awful.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that, USC. But again, these teams are playing for the Pac-12 South crown next week, which I think is both awesome, unexpected, and meaningful. That's what their
just a
season
little
has
bit of
been
everything.
thus far. So when you look forward to this, you're going to have a true freshman at quarterback for UCLA and Josh Rosen, who they have a nice win over Utah. Defensively, they looked a lot better than they have in recent weeks, and they're still so beat up. And USC, as questionable as their offense is, their defense, other than the secondary performance against Oregon, has been okay.
Yes.
This is a team that has the talent to compete with nearly everyone in the conference.
Right, and it's a rivalry game that,
Yes.
especially on the USC side of things, they really want to win this.
They do,
they're
and they
tired
could have
of losing to
completely
UCLA.
tanked. They could have lost to Colorado. They could have lost to Arizona,
Yep.
but they have been resilient. To
Very
you,
impressive.
what means the most looking forward?
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
it wasn't pretty necessarily because, much like that Michigan State game, you said TCU losing their all-everything quarterback for this game. There's no way TCU is going to hang. And for most of the game, that was true.
It was.
In the second half, Oklahoma let TCU back into the game.
Baker Mayfield goes down.
2-point conversion away from possibly losing the thing outright. But they held on. And you're right. Without Baker Mayfield, this offense is not nearly what it should be. Samaje Perine did step up, though. Their only touchdown of the second half.
Incredible run.
And we've talked previously on the show about how he had such a slow start to the season, especially after his electric freshman campaign. But Oklahoma is surviving, and this was a week that's a really good thing to do.
Yep.
I mean, talk to Ohio State, talk to any number of teams right now. Surviving is better than not.
This is true. They end with Bedlam, and then you might have an Oklahoma-Notre Dame question mark for that fourth spot if Notre Dame can get by Stanford.
Cool.
Yay.
Cool.
Super fun. All right.
Argue about bad losses.
That's the show that is going to come on next.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching Week 12 of Wake Up College Football. We're here not that much longer because the season is about to end.
Savor it.
But we've got so much fun left. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Chris Johnson, the leader now for Baylor, 6'5" and 235 pounds. Johnson, play fake. Johnson lofted it in the air. Oh, caught! Jay Lee, touchdown Baylor. Johnson to throw. Johnson winds up down the field again. K.D. Cannon, touchdown, 71 yards. Second and goal at the 4. Johnson, touchdown. He's thrown for 2 touchdowns. Johnson came into this game in the third quarter for Jarrett Stidham.